Hey guys, welcome back to Salem, Cellar. So today I'm going to be doing my top favorite 100 horror and sci-fi films with a little comedy thrown in the mix. I'm also going to be asking the 3 questions for the Salem Cellar 1,000 subscribers giveaway. So make sure you're paying attention. I'm going to be asking them at different points of the video. So just comment down below what your answer is and make sure you're subscribed. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
So when creating this list as a movie lover, it was definitely a little difficult because I love so many films, but it made it a little easier that I got to focus on horror and sci-fi films. I did throw a little comedy in the mix. A lot of my favorite movies of all time are comedies, so it was really hard not to include them. So I'm going to start with 100 to 91. First at 100 is Gothica. Gothica is a great film starring Halle Berry. Then we have Fallen, nice little twist at the end with that one. Tremors, Anaconda, and The Crazies. The Crazies remake. Now, I remember the first time I saw this movie, I saw this actually before the original, and I fell in love immediately. It was just such a fun film, just complete action from start to finish, and you know, what's not to love with like these types of movies? I just, you know, especially like when they're kind of like they end, but they don't. Like they leave it open for more sequels and you like keep you wondering what's going on. I always love that. Next is Terrifier, Joyride, Ghost Ship, The Belko Experiment, and Gremlins 2. So I saw Gremlins 2 before I saw the original, and I fell in love immediately. I think I like it better than the original Gremlins, to be honest. Like, there's more action. There's different types of gremlins. You got the pretty girl gremlin, you got the spider gremlin, you got the flasher gremlin. What else could you want? You know, like, there's just so much going on in this film, and I recently watched it and it was just as amazing. It just didn't let me down. Like, everything I remembered as a child or a teenager watching it growing up, it just like all came back to me, and it was just as great as it was back then. So next, from 90 to 81, we have Constantine. We have Face Off. I know it's not a comedy, it's not a horror, it's an action, obviously, but it's just such a great film. How could you not include Face Off? Next is Land of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead remake, and also Final Destination 2. Final Destination 2 is just one of the loves. I think the whole franchise is one of the loves of my life. There's just something about that scene where they're in the, you know, on the highway with the car with the truck with the big logs, right? So even now, like living in New York, when I'm just on the road and you see, you know, a truck like that, you just move over to the next lane. So yeah, life lesson learned during that movie. Next we have Annabelle Creation, which I like a little bit more than Annabelle. We have The Purge, The Election Year, also Identity, and then Happy Death Day. Happy Death Day was actually one of the first movies that I did a review for on this channel. And I remember the first time I watched this movie, I actually hated it. And I think I went into it wanting to hate it. It seemed a little silly to me, and I'm just like, you know, I can't get behind this one. And I watched it a few more times. So I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to stop because this is kind of amazing. Like, I just fell in love with it. And even the sequel I love. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. Next at 80 to 71, we have Night of the Living Dead in the 1968 version. Yes, classic. I have Unbreakable thrown in there. We have Twilight. Don't start. I love Twilight. It's not a bad movie, and the franchise isn't horrible. It's not. So just stop. You guys like it. You guys know it. It's like my little guilty pleasure. Next, I have Prometheus, which is such an amazing film. It's just, I remember the first time I watched it, it was a little slow, and I really didn't realize that it was kind of it's a prequel to the Alien movies. So after realizing that, I'm just like, holy crap, this movie's amazing. So I watched it again and I fell in love with it even more. It's just such a great film. Next is This Is the End. I know it's a little bit of a comedy, but it's a little darker. You know, it can be a little horror-y, a little sci-fi like, right? Yeah, okay, we'll let it pass. Next, Sinister. Then we have Psycho. Then we have The Birds, which I think is one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock films. It's just such a great one. I love Psycho. Of course, I have, you know, one of the famous lines quoted on my arm, but there's something about the birds that will stick with you for the rest of your life. Next, we have Scream 2 and then Scream 4. Now, I remember the gap between like Scream 3 and Scream 4. When Scream 4 came out, I was just like, okay, you know, it's been so long since we had a Scream film. I'm just like so pumped to have it back. And it did not disappoint. It was a great movie. That twist in the end, like you had no idea who the killer was. You know, it wasn't predictable at all. You know, it was just nice to have it back. And it was fun that they kind of like made fun of like the meta horror in the very beginning. And it's definitely one of my favorite films of all time. So now I want to do the first giveaway question. Remember, there's going to be 3 throughout this video. The first question is, what is your favorite horror movie of all time? I thought it was pretty appropriate because we just did Scream. What's your favorite scary movie? So yes, so just remember that question and answer it with the other 2 questions. Next, 70 to 61, we have Kill Bill. Yes, great film. 7, What's in the Box? We have Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Let's just put all of them in there. Like, maybe not Invasion. I do like that film. It's not a bad film, but I don't know if it would be in like my favorite films of all time. So yes, the first 2, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, amazing films. I recently watched one of them, the one with Donald Sutherland. Can't remember what year that came out, but it's just, it did not disappoint. Like, I watched it years ago and then I rewatched it recently and I'm like, wow, this is such an amazing film. It's just like, to this day, it just aged beautifully. Next, we have Army of Darkness, Edward Scissorhands, Daybreakers, 13 Ghosts. Yes, such a great movie. And I'm talking about the remake. I really love the remake with Matthew Lillard. I don't know, something about this film. It's definitely one of my favorites of all time. Next, we have Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring specifically, Back to the Future 2, and Resident Evil. Now, I never really played the game Resident Evil, so I didn't have anything to compare it to when I first saw the movie. So when I saw the movie, I don't know if I even realized it was a zombie movie. And when I did, I just fell in love. I just loved the story, the plot, everything about it. I love this entire franchise, but the first one will always be one of my favorites. So we are going to do our second question. So the second question is, what is your favorite sci-fi film? What is your favorite sci-fi film? Okay, so put that with your first answer, and we have one more question to go. Next, 60 to 51, we have Kindergarten Cop. Yes, I know, it's not a horror, it's not a sci-fi. I don't know if you would even consider it a comedy, but I love it, and I love Arnold, so I had to put this in. Next is neither as well, Twins. I love Twins, guys. Don't judge me. I just love Arnold. He had to be involved in this list somewhere. And he is more down the line. Next, Predator. Okay, we have a sci-fi in there. Next on my list is Wolverine Origins. Now, I love X-Men movies. I love them. I love them. And I love Wolverine. I love Hugh Jackman. So when they came out with the origin film, dude, this film is just such a great movie. There's so much great action. I love the story. I love like the little twist during the film, which I'm not going to give away just in case you haven't seen it, but it's just such like the character Sabretooth, played by Liev Schreiber. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I apologize if I'm not. He just kills his role. Hugh Jackman is just phenomenal. Them together as brothers is just, it just pulls you into this film even more. You know, the Sabretooth in the original X-Men film didn't really speak. He was a little like, you know, I guess more, I don't know if he's more like the comic book Sabretooth, but Liev Schreiber in this role just being like vicious was just like, I don't know what was not to love about this film. Next, I have some superheroes. I have Iron Man, of course, Black Panther, which I love. I have Hot Fuzz, which I'm considering a comedy. You know, it's action comedy. It's just, you know, these guys are just such, they're so amazing in their films. Like Shaun of the Dead, of course, is like a love of mine. So let's throw that in the mix as well. But like, yeah, there's something about Hot Fuzz that I just can't get enough of. It's hysterical. If you haven't seen Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead, I recommend both of them. They're such good movies. All right, so we have Nightmare on Elm Street as well, Dream Warriors. I think that's one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street films. Next, we have I Know What You Did Last Summer. This film was one of the movies in the 90s that really got me into horror. You know, I don't even know, was I in junior high, in high school? I just remember being a big fan of Sarah Michelle Gellar because I'm pretty sure this is when Buffy was out. And just like not relating to this film, but kind of relating because it's not like, you know, a ghost child. It's not somebody crawling out of a well. This is like kids or teenagers that hit somebody by accident, was crossing the road, and their whole lives were completely screwed up. So like this movie will always be one of my favorites. There's something so terrifying about that. It's like Scream. It's like you don't know who the killer is. There's something so scary about that. It's not something supernatural. It's just something that could really happen. I don't know. I love the sequel as well, but I Know What You Did Last Summer will always be one of my favorites. So next we have 50 to 41, which is Beetlejuice, Evil Dead, love Evil Dead, Drop Dead Fred. Yes, who does not love Drop Dead Fred? We also have John Carpenter's Vampires. Love this movie. Now, I feel like nobody talks about this movie. When growing up, it literally was on TV constantly. It was one of those movies that I always had on, and it scared the crap out of me. And it was some parts I probably shouldn't be watching as a kid, but it was just such a great film. And to this day, I love it. Like I watched it recently. I think it was streaming somewhere. I can't remember where, but I'm like, this is a badass film. I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? So yeah, this will be always one of my favorites. Next, we have The Faculty, Get Out, love Jordan Peele. We have Men in Black. Yes, love Men in Black. Deep Blue Sea, such a great movie. It literally is just one of my favorite shark movies. I do love Jaws too. It's one of my favorites as well, but Deep Blue Sea is up there. How can you not beat that scene with Samuel Jackson? I don't really know if you could beat it. I don't think you could beat it. I don't know. I don't think so. Next is Krampus. I love Krampus. I have a thing for Krampus. I don't know why, but this film, I remember the first time I saw it, it's hysterical. It's a little brutal at times, but it's just like, it just reminds you what the holidays are. It's crazy. It's insane. Just like watching it, now it's like as a mom, I'm like I kind of see myself as the mom in this movie. It's just like you want everything to be perfect and everybody's screwing it up. And then Krampus comes and starts killing everybody. Yeah. So yeah, this film will always be one of my favorites. Next, we have Escape Room. Love Escape Room. I actually did a review on the Escape Room and the sequel for it on my channel a few months back. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But yeah, this is like one, I just love it. I go to escape rooms frequently. So I remember the first time I saw this movie and I'm like, holy crap, like maybe I should rethink doing it, but obviously that couldn't happen, right? Maybe, I don't know. But this movie is a lot of fun from start to finish. I loved the cast, I loved the rooms. It was really exciting. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend. Now, next, we are going to do our third and final question. This question is, what is your favorite comedy? Yes, what is your favorite comedy? I'm very interested in hearing that. Make sure you answer down below all the 3 answers because you've heard all the 3 questions now, right? So make sure you subscribe, make sure you have that answer down below in the comments, and you will be entered into the raffle. The next 40 to 31, we have The Mummy, The Mummy Returns 2, Jaws 2, then we have Jurassic Park 2, and then Jurassic Park. Okay, so the first time I saw Jurassic Park, I fell in love immediately. The scene where Alan Grant stands up in the Jeep and he sees the dinosaur for the first time, like that's how I felt watching this film for the first time. Dinosaurs. What could get cooler and better than dinosaurs? I don't really know. Maybe aliens? I don't know. But like, I just remember the first time I saw it and I remember the excitement I got from it. And I do love the sequel, the second one, just as much. I know a lot of people don't really love the second one, but I do. I just think they're great movies. But yes, these will always be one of like my favorite franchise of all time. Next, we have Step Brothers. It's a comedy, of course. Step Brothers is hysterical. It will always be one of my favorite comedies. I quote it pretty much on a daily basis. So yeah, it's one of my loves. Next, we have Die Hard. Yes, not a comedy, not a sci-fi, not a horror, but it's one of my favorite Christmas movies. You can't leave Die Hard out. You can't. It's just such a great film. Next is Child Play, and then I have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, Killer Clowns is just such a cult classic film. It's just growing to be one of my loves. You know, no matter how many times I watch it, and it's funny because I have such a fear of clowns. And this movie is just, it's terrifying, but I think the bright colors, I think the music, I think like the whole vibe of it makes it kind of a comedy a little bit, like a dark comedy, silly, but it's still terrifying at the same time. Yeah, so yeah, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, just an awesome film from start to finish. Next we have Us from Jordan Peele. Again, love Jordan Peele. I remember watching this movie throughout my pregnancy. I don't know why. I literally watched this every day. I almost craved it. You know how people crave food during their pregnancy? I craved Us. There's something about it. I remember seeing it in the theater and how I was feeling watching it. I'm just like, it's like a puzzle, and the entire time watching it, I'm trying to solve it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. What is going on? It's just so much excitement watching this film, and it's creepy, and it's gory, and it's dark, and it's real. And there's just something about it. It's just something about Jordan Peele's movies that I will always be in love with. But there's something like special to me with Us. And yeah, that's why it's one of my favorites. Next, 30 to 21. We have Billy Madison. Yes, Billy Madison will always be one of my favorite comedies. Like Step Brothers, I quote this movie often. I am like a 15-year-old boy when it comes to Billy Madison. There's just something so hysterical about it. And I will always love this movie, and I will always love Adam Sandler. Next, it's the original It. Love Pennywise, had to have him on the list. Underworld. Underworld is one of my favorites. I literally named my son after the head liking werewolf in this movie, Lucian. I just had to. I just love the film. I loved the actor. I don't know. This is Underworld. Yeah, Lucian. Love it. Next, we have The Thing, and I'm talking about the original Thing, even though the other one is a really great movie, but there's something about the original Thing that I just will always love, and I watch it often to this day. It's just such a great film, and it's held up throughout all these years. Next, we have Lost Boys. Love Lost Boys. Addams Family. Batman Returns, my favorite Batman movie. We have Saw. Love Saw. Terminator. Come on, you have to have Terminator on your list, right? And next, Halloween, the original Halloween. Michael Myers is my favorite. You know, like besides Ghostface, I do love Ghostface, of course, but Michael Myers is just one of my loves, and he will always be. This film is just, I watch it, I want to say weekly, maybe. I just love the whole entire franchise, but the original Halloween, there's nothing like it. All right, 20 to 11, guys. We're coming down to the wire. It's actually getting dark outside if you couldn't tell. Thank you for sticking throughout this entire list. First, we have Candyman, the original Candyman. Love Tony Todd, love the Candyman. Then The Shining, Rosemary's Baby, The Craft. I actually did a comparison video of like the original Craft and the remake Craft on my channel, and it's just nothing will hold a candle to the original Craft. It will always be one of my favorites. Next, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Big fan. We have Blade 2, Jeepers Creepers 1, Jeepers Creepers 2. Love Jeepers Creepers. Big fan of that. And we also have Underworld, Rise of the Lycans. Yes, we had Underworld, but this is more like Lucian's origin story. And like I said, I'm a massive fan of Lucian. I've named my son Lucian. So yeah, this is one of my favorite movies. And this movie was done so well. Like I want more. Like I want to know like from like the end of this movie to Underworld, like what went on there and how he came to power even more. He's just such an incredible character. The actor portrays him like beautifully. This movie is just, if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. It's a prequel to Underworld films. And can't forget Christine. Christine is also one of my favorite films. What do you not love about Christine? It's just such a great movie. I don't think it's something that could be redone. It was just, it's perfection. And another one I watch frequently. If you haven't seen Christine, definitely check it out. It's such a great movie. All right, so now we are at my top 10. And number 10, we have Blade. Love Blade. I love the entire franchise. There's something about Wesley Snipes in this role. It's just phenomenal. I actually did a review on that one as well on my channel. It's so great. Like, the character, it's like, I know, and I don't know how I feel about the remake. A part of me is excited for it, you know, like I want more Blade, but I really wish it was Wesley Snipes. I just love him in this role so much. At number 9, we have Aliens. Love Aliens, love, love, love. I love the original Alien, of course, but there's something about the sequel. I think there's more action. Just seeing Sigourney Weaver in this role, she's such a strong female lead, and just seeing her kick butt, like there's nothing like it. You know, she is definitely a final woman. I don't even want to say final girl, final woman. This movie just always will be one of my favorites. That's why it's my top 10. And number 8, we have X-Men. Number 7, Saw 2. I just have a soft spot with Saw 2. I love the original Saw, but Saw 2 will always be my favorite. I love the plot. I love the acting. I love Donnie Wahlberg. I love just the idea that his son is with him in the room the entire time, and he has no idea. And if he just was patient and he listened to John Kramer, then he would have survived and he would have been with his son. And it's just, there's something about this movie and like the traps, it's just so exciting. I love the Saw franchise, but Saw 2 is my favorite out of the entire franchise. At number 6, we have Final Destination. Another one, I like this franchise is probably one of my favorite franchises, like I guess ever, but there's something about the first one. Now I have to thank the first film for my fear of flying. Yes, I'm terrified of flying, and I never was like this. You know, like I traveled a lot of my life. I went to Europe, you know, I love the Caribbean, go to Jamaica often. And we pretty much lived in Jamaica, you know, growing up. And I didn't feel like I was going on vacation unless I got on a plane. Now the thought of going on a plane, my anxiety is through the roof. And I don't know if it's like, I guess it's, you know, it's thanks to Final Destination, but it's just such a great movie. I just love it. It's again, another movie that is aged well. I watch this movie weekly, and I probably will for the rest of my life. All right, so at number 5, we're going to lighten this list up a little bit, and we're going to do my favorite comedy of all time, which is Dumb and Dumber. Yes, Dumb and Dumber is my favorite comedy of all time. It's like a Billy Madison and Step Brothers. I quote this often. I probably know the entire movie from start to finish. I could just say every single line. I don't know. Jim Carrey kills this role. It's just such a funny movie, and it's my number 5. And number 4, we have Ghostbusters 2. Yes, not the first Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2 is my favorite. You know, I think I have a thing for sequels, because if you look at my list, there's a lot of 2s. You know, I don't know why. Like, sequels can just be just as good as the first movie, sometimes better. And in my case, Ghostbusters 2 is better. Like, Ghostbusters 1 is amazing. You know, the first Ghostbusters, not Ghostbusters 1, but the first Ghostbusters is amazing. But there's something about the villain in number 2, and just the storyline, and, you know, little baby Oscar, and there's just something about it that I just love this film. And yeah, that's why it's in my top 10. And number 3, we have Terminator 2. Number 2, we have Halloween 2. Love Halloween 2. I love the Halloween franchise. But there's something about the Halloween 2 I just can't get enough of. I love all the hospital scenes. You know, I'm a big fan of Loomis, and just the fact that you find out that Laurie Strode is Michael Myers' sister. It's just like, I just loved that. I loved that it was everything just came out, and we know the reason why now, that he's coming to kill her and all her friends. So yeah, so this will always be, obviously it's top 3, but it's one of my loves of my life as far as movies. And number 1, we have Scream. Yes. Now, it was hard. It was hard doing the top 3 because I do love all these movies just so much. And I really had to think, like, what would make something my favorite film of all time? And I had to think, like, which of these movies can I watch literally every single day? Like, if I was stuck on a desert island with one movie for the rest of my life, what would I choose? And I would choose the first Scream. There is nothing like it, in my opinion. It just takes meta horror to the next level. It was like my introduction to meta horror. And there was something so terrifying to know that the killer, again, is not something supernatural. It's not a possession. It's not a ghost haunting my home. This is my boyfriend. This is what, you know, my best friend's boyfriend, you know, like, these are people I know. And you could just be home. You could just be hanging out, and then somebody's gonna come with a mask and kill you, and you have no idea who it is. There's something so horrifying about that. If you really sit down and think, you know, like, I know we see clowns are creepy, we see this is creepy, but dude, like, this is real. It's real, and it could be real. So I think that scared me the most. There was a portion of my high school, like me and like when I was in high school, where I was like terrified to be home by myself after this movie came out. Now that's a good horror movie. If it scares you so much you're afraid to be home by yourself, that is a great movie. This movie did its job. And it's just the cast: Skeet Ulrich, Neve Campbell, Matthew Lillard, Jamie Kennedy. I actually met recently Jamie Kennedy and Matthew Lillard and David Arquette at a convention that I just went to. And oh my God, they were so cool. Matthew Lillard was like extremely sweet. I didn't expect him to be as sweet as he was, and I just like kind of fell in love with him like there, you know. Like I was always a Jamie Kennedy fan and his character, but like Matthew Lillard was just amazing, and it's just, yeah, like, oh, he was so cute. But yeah, this is just, the cast is amazing. The death scenes are amazing. It's just brutal. It's like, you know, I learned what gutting was from this film. It's really like this wasn't the first horror movie I've ever seen, but it definitely lit that fire in me to really love this genre. And that's why it's my number 1. Yes, I love Scream. And I love the entire franchise except the newest one. I'm sorry, I can't do the 5th one. I really tried. I watched it so many times. I really wanted to love this film and I just couldn't. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about the next one, but I'm going to give it a try just because I'm just such a lover of the franchise. I love them all, but yeah. Thank you guys so much for sitting through 100 movies with me. You're amazing. Like that was a lot. It's dark, dude. Like it's dark out. So you guys are great friends. And I appreciate you so much. So yeah, I hope you answered those questions. I hope you're subscribed so you could be entered into this giveaway. It's a great prize, and I'm just really happy to give it out to one of my subscribers. You guys deserve it. You're amazing. I want to show my appreciation. Make sure you're following me on social media. If you're not, make sure you just hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed. Like, you got to be subscribed to be entered in this raffle. All right, so just hit that button, answer the questions, and I will be right back.